Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Thursday, October 16, 2014, around 8:03 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's very humid out. It's about 70 degrees out and some rain showers. We're going to have some heavy downpours tonight. And that's about it on the weather. Now some news to report. The Boston Bruins are facing off against the hated rivals, the Montreal Canadiens, at the Bell Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. You could catch the game on Nesson and WZLX FM on the radio in Boston. And also the New York Jets are facing off against the New England Patriots tonight at 8:25 on CBS and NFL Network and Westwood One Radio and WBZ FM, the Sports Hub. The Patriots are going to probably win this game easily. And also, Game 5 of the National League Championship Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants going to start up in a few minutes at AT&T Park in San Francisco. The Giants are up 3-1. The Giants win tonight. They get the National League pennant and they face off against the Kansas City Royals at the World Series. And that's about it for the news. My third and final video blog of the night is about one of the most famous tag teams in professional wrestling history, the Road Warriors, also known as the Legion of Doom. The Road Warriors were one of the most famous tag teams of all time. They were tag team for about 20 years. And it was Hawk and Animal. They had a great style. They were face paint. There was a lot of teams that imitated them in the 1980s, but they never duplicated their success. The Road Warriors were the only tag team in professional wrestling history to win the World Tag Team Championships in the AWA, NWA, and WCW. The Road Warriors started in 1983 as part of a faction called the Legion of Doom in Georgia Championship Wrestling. The Legion of Doom was Hawk and Animal, and they were managed by Precious Paul Ellery, who used to be a professional wrestler, but he wasn't that great of a professional wrestler. His career ended because he had 2 very bad knees, but he was a good talker. So Ole Anderson, the book of Georgia Championship Wrestling, made him a manager. And he managed Bud Sawyer and a couple of others. And the Legion of Doom consisted of the Road Warriors, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Spoiler, King Kong Bundy, Arn Anderson, the Iron Sheik, and Buzz Sawyer. And the Road Warriors had the face paint. They came out like running every time they were into the ring, and they would clobber their opponents, preliminary wrestlers, pretty easily in the matches. Some of these matches were like quick and easy. The Road Warriors had power moves, slams over the power slams, clotheslines. The most famous finishing maneuver was a Doomsday device, where like Animal would hold up the wrestler in like a piggyback form, and Hawk would come off the top rope and deliver the clothesline. The Road Warriors were heels, and when they first started in Georgia Championship Wrestling, they were crowned the Georgia Championship Wrestling's Tag Team Champions. They won that title 4 times. And even though if they were heels, they were getting cheered a lot by the fans. And then soon they left Georgia to go to other regional territories like Memphis and Florida. Even though they wrestled as heels, the fans were cheering them like crazy. And then their first major success was at the AWA. They won the AWA World Tag Team Championships in August of 1984 by beating the Crusher and Baron Von Raschke at Las Vegas, Nevada's Showboat. And they held the AWA World Tag Team titles for a year. And they faced a lot of teams like the Fabulous Libras, the Fabulous Ones. They faced off against Sergeant Slaughter and Crusher Blackwell, Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens, Larry and Kurt Hennig, and other tag teams. And this is when they were starting to turned face because even though they were heels, fans were cheering them. So the inevitable happened. They were turned face, and they still used a brutal style and stuff. And then they lost the tag team championships in the AWA to Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Steve Mr. Electricity Legal with interference by the Fabulous Freebirds. And then they had the Freebirds and the Road Warriors had one more match in the AWA that was at Wrestle Rock 1986 to blow off that feud. Then the Road Warriors went to NWA Jim Crockett Promotions, and they had a very successful run there, 4 years. They were cheered like crazy. They had some feuds with the Russians, Ivan and Nikita Koloff, the Midnight Express, and they had a famous match with the Midnight Express at Starrcade 1986, the night of the Skywalkers, on a scaffold match. And this scaffold match was amazing. The legend has it that Road Warrior Hawk was wrestling on a broken ankle, and he did pretty good in the scaffold match against the Midnight Express with Dennis Condrey and Bobby Easton. It was one of the best matches of all time. You could catch that on a DVD for WWE for the Starrcade one and the Road Warrior one. Pretty good. And then the Road Warriors also teamed a lot with Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. They were the NWA World Six-Man Tag Team Champions. And then they had continued with feuds with Paul Jones's Army, and they also had feuds with the Powers of Pain, which was Road Warrior imitations, the Warlord and the Barbarian. And they had an amazing feud where they had a powerlifting contest, and the powerlifting contest was amazing. Like the Powers of Pain was lifting 400 pounds, and then the Road Warriors 500. Then the Powers of Pain 550, the Road Warrior 600. But when they reached 600, the Powers of Pain attacked the animal and crushed his eye socket. But and this was amazing because it's legitimately animal needed surgery on his eye socket because he injured it in a match earlier. And this was just a storyline reason to get him off television for a while. But when he came back, he temporarily wrestled with a Jason-styled mask, and they had the Powers of Pain feuded with the Road Warriors throughout 1988 in the NWA. And when they were supposed to have a scaffold match at the Great American Bash 1988, the Powers of Pain left to sign with WWE. And also from time to time, the Road Warriors went to Japan and had success there. They won the IWGP Tag Team Championships in Japan, New Japan, for several times and stuff. They were real popular in Japan as well. And when the Four Horsemen, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, left the NWA in September 1988, Booker Dusty Rhodes for NWA Jim Crockett Promotions needed a new number one heel tag team. And he looked, and it was the Road Warriors. He picked the Road Warriors, and the Road Warriors turned heel, turned on Stain during a six-man tag team match, and then they won the NWA World Tag Team Championship against the Midnight Express, which was beautiful Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane in New Orleans, and Lane and Eaton were actually faces. And the fans, even though booed the Road Warriors at first, they cheered them. Eventually, they tried desperately to get the Road Warriors over as monster heels. They even tried to drive a spike into Dusty Rhodes' eye, and this caused on World Championship Wrestling on Superstation TBS on Saturday night, and Dusty Rhodes was bleeding profusely. This incident with the Road Warriors trying to put the eye of Dusty Rhodes out with a spike that backfired on the Jim Crockett Promotion. Dusty Rhodes was fired as Booker, and eventually Dusty Rhodes quit because they didn't want any blood. And the Road Warriors faced off against Dusty Rhodes and Sting for the NWA World Tag Team Championship at Starrcade '88. And the Road Warriors were cheered tremendously, even though Sting was a top star face for the NWA, and they couldn't keep the Road Warriors heel, even though they did heel stuff. The fans wouldn't believe it, and the heel turn was given up when there was new bookers. They just decided the Road Warriors are going to be faces again, and they feuded with the Varsity Club, which was Steve Dr. F. Williams and Mike Rotundo, and Rotundo and Williams won the NWA World Tag Team Championship against the Road Warriors at the Clash of Champions in New Orleans, Louisiana in April 1989, when referee Teddy Long gave a fast count and he turned heel, Teddy Long, to become a manager. And then that's when the Road Warriors' tenure of the NWA was going downhill afterwards. They had feuds with teams like the Samoan SWAT team and the Skyscrapers and Doom, but the Road Warriors' contract was up for renewal for the NWA, which became WCW around this time, in June of 1990, and they were making so much money, the vice president of WCW at the time, Jim Herd, was going to reduce their contract, and they wanted Hawk and Animal to feud with each other, and the Hawk and Animal said no way, and then they called up Vince McMahon and the WWE and said, we want to come to the WWE. Vince McMahon agreed to it, but he did not want Paul Ellering, who was the Road Warriors manager, to come with him, and Paul Ellering agreed because he didn't want to hold them in the way to go to the WWE. And then they couldn't use the name Road Warriors because they trademarked them, Hawk and Animal, so they called them the Legion of Doom. And they made their debut in the summer of 1990, and they wore like spike things, and then they new theme song because they came out to the theme song Iron Man when they were in NWA and WCW. It was called Ooh What a Rush. That was Hawk's famous saying. And then the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, had some success in the WWE. They feuded with their Demolition, which was kind of the Road Warriors WWE version, which Axe, Smash, and Crush for several months in 1990. They teamed with the WWE champion, The Ultimate Warrior, and they had some great matches at house shows and stuff. Then the Legion of Doom was primed for a WWE Tag Team title match at WrestleMania 7, but they got eliminated in a Tag Team Battle Royal on WWE Superstars by Power and Glory, who was Paul Roma and Hercules. Then they had a match at WrestleMania 7, which was the Legion of Doom won in about 2 minutes and so. Then the Legion of Doom feuded with the Nasty Boys over the summer of 1991. At SummerSlam 1991, Legion of Doom won the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship. And they had a good reign. They feuded with the Natural Disasters, but they lost the Tag Team Championship at a house show in Denver, Colorado against Money Incorporated, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and IRS, and this is when Hawk got suspended for flunking a drug test. They were off. The Legion of Doom was off television for a couple of months, but they brought back Paul Ellering, the Legion of Doom. They had an interview at WrestleMania 8, and then they feuded with the Beverly Brothers and stuff on house shows during the summer of 1992, and then they introduced Rocco, who was an old friend from the mean streets of Chicago, and Paul Ellering took Ventura classes to talk about Rocco. This was a crazy gimmick. Hawk didn't like it, and by SummerSlam 1992, the Legion of Doom had a match against Money Incorporated at SummerSlam to open it up, and it was an amazing match. But this was the last match that the Legion of Doom would have in the WWE for 4 years because Hawk was fired because he flunked another drug test. And then they tried to have like Animal team with Crush on the European tour as the new Legion of Doom, but that didn't work out. And then Animal got injured. He injured his tailbone. He was out of wrestling. He had to collect insurance from Lloyd's of London. He was he couldn't wrestle for 3.5 years. Hawk made appearances in WCW and Japan. The Road Warriors reunited in 1996 as the Road Warriors again in WCW, but they didn't have a success in WCW during that time. Then they came back to the WWE in 1997 February. They had a match with the Headbangers at Monday Night Raw, and then they had a Chicago street fight with like Ahmed Johnson as their partner against the Nation of Domination at WrestleMania 13, and then like the Road Warriors were like feuding with the Godwins and Owen Hart and the British Bulldog throughout the year, and then they won the WWE Tag Team Championship for a second time on Raw against Godwins in October of 1997, but they lost it the next month to the New Age Outlaws, and then this is when the Road Warriors were starting to be phased out. There was like some tension. They were going to fight one another at one of the Raws, but they were taken off television for a while. They were rebranded as LOD 2000 at WrestleMania 14, managed by Sonny. But that didn't work out, and they tried to add a third member of the Legion of Doom, Puke, which Dallin Drozdov, and this is when like they were having a storyline that they brought back Paul Ellering again to be the Legion of Doom's manager because Sonny was fired, but this was a swerve. The Legion of Paul Ellering turned on the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, and he was managed by the DOA, which was Skull and 8-Ball, and they had a feud which went nowhere, and then they started to write a storyline that Droz was subbing in more for Hawk, who was battling some demons with his drug and alcohol abuse. They used that as a storyline, and this continued to drive it down. One Monday Night Raw, Hawk was going to try to commit suicide by jumping off the Tritantron, and then like Droz was trying to help him, but he accidentally pushes him off and falls down. And then this thing was never resolved because they phased out the Road Warriors after that, and they fired them. And this was sad because, you know, this is not the way to go for a tag team. The best tag team in professional wrestling history. Then the Road Warriors went on the independent scene from 1999 to 2003. Hawk was shooting on Vince McMahon on shoot interviews, saying bad stuff about him. They appeared in several independent promotions, even the TNA and stuff. They made one more appearance in the WWE in May of 2003 in a match against the RVD and Kane, and that was a good bye thing for the Road Warriors. And Hawk passed away in October 18, 2003 at the age of 46. And Animal made some appearances in the WWE in 2005 to revive a new Legion of Doom with John Heidenreich, and they won the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships for a few months. That was to promote the Road Warriors DVD. And the Road Warriors are in the WWE Hall of Fame. There's a book about them that I have and stuff like that. And the DVD's awesome. So that's about it. I'll Facebook friends, and YouTube followers, this is the last video blog of the night. I'll be back tomorrow for 3 more video blogs. I can't mention them right now because I'm running short of time. But don't forget, there'll be blogs about Julie Broughton and Crystal Pistol and Heidi Lee Pratt and Janelle Tobin and Dee Patel and Bruce Cronin and Tony Ramos and Donald Beauregard and Angelo. Have a good night, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.